Hi folks, I'm Hector Garcia, CPA and small business consultant. Today's video will not be about accounting. If you follow my work, if you follow my channel, if you're a current subscriber, thank you by the way. You know most of the stuff that I do, it's about accounting. But today, Saturday, August 8th, there's huge news coming out of the White House, and this could have huge implications to tons of Americans. So quick background, the Senate and the House, Congress didn't come up with an agreement to another stimulus package, and a lot of these programs are coming due. The extended $600 a week unemployment assistance that people were getting actually finished up or dried up July 31st. So now it's August 8th, and economists fear that all these unemployed people not getting additional assistance will be catastrophic to our economy. So one of the executive orders talks about that. Also, there is a moratorium on the CARES Act on evictions and foreclosures, basically delaying the process so people don't get kicked out of their homes during the pandemic. And that's all coming due as well. So there's an executive order to extend that through the end of the year. There's also in the CARES Act an extension or a moratorium to have interest free on federal student loans, and on top of that, holding off those payments until the end of September. So the third executive order talks about student loans and extending that moratorium with basically no interest, no payments until the end of the year. And lastly, the craziest one of all that's going to affect most of my clients, small business owners, and a lot of accountants are going to go crazy in the next couple of weeks dealing with the payroll tax holiday. That's the fourth executive order. So in this video, I'm going to break down all four of these executive orders. I'm going to talk about some of the implications, both politically, financially, what the executive order actually means, whether or not it will come into play, if you actually will see any of these orders get executed, or if they get shut down, and we got the election coming up. So there's a lot of implications. This executive order is a lot more than just presidential action, because Congress basically couldn't come up with an agreement, and they're going into August recess. And if the members from the Senate actually take their holiday, they don't come back until after September 7th, Labor Day. So you're going to have a lot of issues with the economy. I mean, the implications are huge. And President Trump, which I don't agree with in most of the stuff, I actually totally 100% agree with the actions that he took today. Not because I think they will stick, more because I think he'll put more pressure on Congress to get this done. So I'm going to break down all four executive orders for you. So whether you're unemployed, employed, or a business owner, this stuff will affect you no matter what. And one more thing, my channel currently has 95,000 subscribers. As you may know from other YouTubers, it's a YouTuber's dream to get to 100,000 subscribers, because you get a nice little plaque and you get recognition that you're in the 100K club. And my goal this month is to get to 100,000. So I'm going to copy what a lot of other YouTubers do, which is reward the viewers that subscribe, comment, and like the video. And I'm going to give away a $100 Amazon gift card to one person, specifically on this video. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Let's get right into the executive orders from Donald Trump today. So let's start with the one that's making every accountant in the country and payroll provider freak out, which is the payroll tax holiday. I'm going to play a quick clip from the White House briefing so we can hear Donald Trump's exact words.
Providing a payroll tax holiday to Americans earning less than $100,000 per year. In a few moments, I will sign a directive instructing the Treasury Department to allow employers to defer payment of the employee portion of certain payroll taxes from September 1st. And we're actually going to be making that. We just got the word. We're just getting some word from a lot of people. We didn't think we'd have to do this because we thought the Democrats would be reasonable, but they've been not only unreasonable, they've been ridiculous. So we're going to make that August 1st, most likely. It'll be August 1st. We'll let you know the exact date, but we're looking like August 1st.
All right, like all of Donald Trump stuff, right? You get all these sort of sidetrack comments, but whatever. Let's talk about what exactly does a payroll tax holiday mean. So if you're an employer, if you have employees or you're an accountant that helps small business owners that have employees, you got to pay really close attention to what this executive order means. So employees that make less than $100,000 per year, which is a great vast majority of employees in the US. I don't know how many people make less than $100,000 a year, but I'm going to assume it's 100 million or some big number like that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done literally today, tomorrow, Monday, right now because of this executive order to fix the payroll systems. So exactly what's going to happen is 7.65%. This is Social Security and Medicare. Every employee in the US, there's some exceptions, but most employees in the US, they get this 7.65% taken out of their gross payroll, out of their paycheck, to pay for Social Security and Medicare. Now he says defer it. He didn't say tax holiday and the tax is exonerated. It's being deferred. That means that temporarily you don't have to pay it now. That means you don't have to get it withheld. This automatically gives every American that makes less than $100,000 a 7.65% raise. This is exactly what that means. So if your employer, if the payroll provider executes on this and does not withhold the 7.65%, you're going to see bigger paychecks. However, because the tax is not being exonerated, it needs to be paid back. So I don't know what the mechanics are going to look like. I assume that, and I'm getting nerdy here, the Form 941, which is the form that employers use in order to report their payroll taxes, will now have some new lines for you to enter how much you have deferred. And I don't know how long you will have to pay it back, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. We'll wait for Treasury to do this. So Treasury now needs to direct the IRS to give a specific instruction of what the mechanics look like and the reporting requirements look like. But at the end of the day, from a political point of view, and this is how you have to see it and understand it, this is an election year. So from a political point of view, if this stands through election, every American has a raise, right? Or they have a bigger paycheck, even though they have to pay it back. And the employer, I assume, is going to be responsible for withholding that amount in the future, double, right, to pay this back. But every American is going to have this temporary increase in their paycheck, and that might be favorable for the incumbents, right? Not just the president, but all politicians that are incumbent. So I don't know if this is going to stick. I don't know how long this will stick for. Long story short, if some employers and some payroll companies do this immediately, even if this gets shut down through the courts and the government gets sued or whatever, and this gets reversed, or by the time the Congress comes back and maybe makes it into law, there's going to be some messy additional record keeping we're going to have to keep to make sure of this. Now, I didn't see anywhere, and I didn't read in the executive order where employers are mandated to do this. They're giving them the option. So I assume that a lot of employers, a lot of payroll companies are going to wait until the employee themselves requests to its employer, and the employer, the business itself, makes the change in the payroll system. So I don't think this is going to be automatic to everyone. I think people are going to have to make this election. I assume the larger companies that have bigger legal departments and more compliance, the bigger compliance departments, they're probably going to communicate this to employees right away and tell people, hey, make the choice. Do you want me to defer your payroll taxes or not? Make sure you understand that you have to pay them back. Now, what happens if the employee gets laid off? Then maybe the employer's on the hook for that, or maybe the employee has to pay the government directly. We don't know what the mechanics look like. Executive orders now need to go through Treasury and through the IRS, so we understand what all the mechanics look like in tax forms, W-2s, all that stuff. We have to wait. But long story short, that's what the implication means, and this is huge. A payroll tax holiday is huge. I mean, giving every American that's employed 7.65% raise, it's got huge implications. Political implications. But again, you have to pay this back. Remember, if you're watching this and you're going to go run, tell your employer to do this, you will pay this back. Okay. Now, I'm going to fast forward real quick to something else that Donald Trump comments. And Donald Trump does this a lot, where he kind of sprinkles in a comment that's like a throwaway comment, but it really isn't. And it does spark a huge conversation. I'm going to play this clip real quick because this is part of sort of a master plan that he has. And again, huge political implications, but I'll play it real quick and then I'll comment about it.
Taxes and make permanent cuts to the payroll tax. I'm going to make them all permanent. Now, Joe Biden and the Democrats may not want that. They don't want that because they're adding $3 trillion in taxes. So they'll have the option of raising everybody's taxes and taking this away. But if I win, I may extend and terminate. In other words, I'll extend it beyond the end of the year and terminate the tax.
Okay, what he just said, it's again, it is a couple seconds and it might not seem very significant. But what he's basically saying, he's giving a policy signal where he says that if he wins, right, if he's here 4 more years, whatever, and he's got a Republican-controlled Congress, that he's going to propose to get rid of payroll tax forever. The implications to that are humongous. Getting rid of payroll tax is sounds like a great thing. You know, as an employer, I don't have to pay that payroll tax anymore, unless getting rid of it means getting rid of it for the employee, and then the employer has to pay for it. We don't know what that means. But getting rid of payroll tax means that you no longer have funding for Social Security and Medicare. Now, does that mean that those programs will be defunded completely? Maybe not. Maybe they will continue to be funded and it'll come from regular income tax, which basically means that we're either going to get into a big deficit or our income taxes will go up. So I'm not sure what the net benefit of that. I assume what he's saying from a political point of view is that he wants to get rid of Medicare and Social Security. Now, Republicans for a very long time, and Libertarians for that matter, the party that I belong to, want to get rid of that because it's such a hole in the budget, right? Social Security and Medicare is the most expensive things that we pay for. They sometimes they call it the entitlement programs. They're very, very expensive, and I would feel really bad for people that have been paying into it for years. They're coming up for retirement in the next 5 years or 10 years or so. That would really suck for them, right? Because they've paid for years. So I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know if that's even feasible. This might be like a true Trumpism, right? Where he just throws something out there, a campaign promise that a lot of politicians do, something that's just really, really sort of kind of unfeasible. So who knows exactly if he meant that as a throwaway comment or if this is really policy to come. And this would have huge implications.
And so we'll see what happens. Biden probably won't be doing that. You'll have to ask him. I don't think he knows what he's doing. Second, I'm signing an executive order directing the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HHS, and CDC to make sure renters and homeowners can stay in their homes. So I'm protecting people from eviction. Yet you've been hearing a lot about eviction, and the Democrats don't want to do anything having to do with protecting people from eviction. I said, let's do that separately. That could be a totally separate thing.
All right. So long story short, if you're going to get evicted because you haven't paid rent, or if you're going to have a foreclosure because you haven't paid your mortgage, the federal government is going to step in. And probably, again, it's not very clear to me how this works, if this is making it illegal to do so, or if it's the government is what they're going to do is they're going to come back and tell the owner of the property or the bank or whatever and say, okay, fill out this form or whatever, and we will pay for that for a month or 2 or something like that to delay the foreclosure or eviction. So this is going to come in, it needs to come in with actual financial assistance, right? The government can't just say you can't do evictions, you can't do foreclosures without actually throwing money at the problem, because it just causes all other sorts of problems. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to minute 16:25, where he adds a very specific comment. So let's listen.
Housing and Urban Development will also provide financial assistance to struggling renters and homeowners and work with landlords and lenders to keep Americans safely in their homes. So we don't.
So, right. So what that means is the HUD, or the department of the government that deals with this stuff, will probably have a mechanism to fund rent payments or help the banks financially for the people that didn't pay their loans. I don't know I'll confess, I don't know what the mechanics of this look like. I don't know what website you go to. I don't know how to make the actual application, but that's what the executive order does. That's what it does. It says we're going to we're going to allocate federal funds to help delay the process of evictions and foreclosures. Now let's move on to unemployment. This is huge.
Today, we'll also provide additional support for Americans who are unemployed due to the China virus. Under the CARES Act, I proudly signed expanded unemployment benefits into law. Congressional Democrats have stonewalled our efforts to extend this relief. They even opposed measures that would give bonuses to workers returning to the job.
Yeah, whatever. Let me fast forward a little bit.
For an extra $400 per week in expanded benefits. $400, okay?
$400.
So that's generous, but we want to take care of our people. Again, it wasn't their fault, it was China's fault. States will be asked to cover 25% of the cost using existing funding, such as the tens of billions of dollars available to them through the Coronavirus Relief Fund. Under this plan, states will be able to offer greater benefits if they so choose.
Okay. So the original pandemic unemployment insurance assistant, which was an additional $600 on top of whatever the state offered, pretty much ended July 31st. Through this executive order, Donald Trump is basically reallocating funds from a federal disaster relief fund that has about $44 billion in it. And in the executive order, it states that the federal government is going to give 75% of this $400 to the states, requiring the states to put the other 25%. In other words, the federal government will put $300, the states will put $100, and this means that if you're unemployed, you will get those additional $400. Now, how this works mechanically, if the states have the money, if they don't have the money, the states are probably going to sue the government for this because some of them don't have the funds to pay for this. He stated that there is a fund for that. I don't know what the mechanics look like, but if basically at the end of the day, if this works, unemployed folks will get an additional $400 a week on top of whatever the state gives instead of $600, which is not bad. I'm going to play a clip at the end where they ask him why $400 and not $600, and I actually really like the answer. So I will mention that. Let me fast forward and talk about student loans. So he starts talking about student loans right about here.
Fourth, I'm signing a directive providing relief to student loan borrowers. Earlier this year, we slashed student loan interest rates to zero. I don't know if people know that because the press doesn't ever report it, but maybe they're watching now. The press doesn't report a lot of good things that are good for the people and good for the country. Earlier this year, we slashed student loans, interest rates to 0% and suspended student loan payments, and Congress extended that policy through September 30th. Today, I'm extending this policy through the end of the year, and we'll extend it further than that, most likely right after
the election, right? Yeah, right after you win, no one will ever pay student loans back, of course. Anyway, so what he's saying is that at the beginning of this, the pandemic issue, the student loans were reduced to zero. Basically, if you were someone paying student loans and you were paying interest only, zero interest means you don't have to make any payments. Or if you make payments, it goes 100% to principal. Now, the CARES Act specifically made the payments in your behalf, basically, through September 30th. So what this executive order does is extends it through December 31st. So one thing I'll tell you is, again, I mentioned this earlier, I don't know if these executive orders are going to stand. I don't know if they're going to get overruled in the court. So if you are someone paying for student loans, don't get overconfident that magically your loans will get paid after September. My recommendation is when your September payment is due, which will be covered with the CARES Act, I would call whoever's servicing your loan and make sure that they are scheduled to make payments through December. You don't want to miss a payment in October or November and then get your credit all messed up because you're trusting the executive order that maybe was held in court. So that's the part that really worries me about these executive orders. It's not law, it's temporarily law, but usually Congress will shut it down or make an actual law that overrides it, or maybe the courts shut it down. So this is going to be very turbulent times in the next couple of weeks and months, because we're gonna have to be dealing with this, and we have to be on top of the news. We have to see what's going on and to see if these orders are actually sticking, and if you are obligated to if you're an employer, if you're obligated to execute on them, or if the states are obligated to execute on the additional $400 a week that they're providing with this executive order, or if the actual eviction and foreclosure relief comes into play and people actually get the money and it helps people delay that process and the student loan payments. Again, take these executive orders with a grain of salt. They're worth something, but historically, in the past 12 years that I've been following politics, most executive orders don't stick, right? They get replaced by something else or they get shut down. So again, don't just take this for, take it with a grain of salt. Make sure you continue to do research, continue to be on top of everything, and don't get overconfident about it. That's basically all I'll say about that. Now, later on, in about minute 29, this is where he signs the stuff. So you can see him signing the executive order, right? So, yeah, I'll put a link on the description if you want to see the whole press briefing and all the great political commentary that he adds to that. But there was one question that a reporter asked, which is, why $400 and not $600? I think he really makes a really good point. I'm going to play it and then add some comments to that.
This is the money they want, and this gives them a great incentive to go back to work. So this was much more than was originally agreed. The 600 was a number that was there. And as you know, there was difficulty with the 600 number because it really was a disincentive. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. President?
Okay, so I'll explain. So a lot of the Republicans were agreeing to a $200 additional federal extension to unemployment. Most Republicans actually didn't want any at all, or weren't ready to decide on a number. Democrats wanted to continue the $600, and in my experience, and I went through this with a lot of my small business owner clients, is when people at the beginning of this whole thing, March, April, when they got laid off and they started getting unemployment, $600 a week plus whatever the state pays, in many cases was more money than they were getting anyway through work. So it really, financially speaking, it was a big incentive to stay home. Now I get it, because of health reasons, maybe that was by design, but at the end of the day, it was very difficult for employers to get people to work at their same wage, because they were essentially competing with unemployment. Unemployment was more money than what they were getting paid before. So I had many of my clients that had to pay people extra, like above and beyond what they're getting paid before, call it a bonus or whatever, to get them to come back to work. And I don't want to talk about the health implications of forcing people to come back to work. That's not a topic I like to discuss. I'm just dealing with the financial concept, right, of having unemployment being more than when you were getting paid. So I think that's a good point. So basically, he picked a number in between what some Republicans agreed to, which is 200, and then what some Democrats wanted, which is extending the 600. 400 is a good number regardless. I think that a lot of unemployed people, with whatever the state pays plus the 400, will equal to very close. And again, not everybody. I know if you were getting paid $100,000 a year, there's no way that this will be the same. But for median income of people getting paid $45,000 to $50,000 a year, getting $300 plus the 400 from the state, plus the 400 extra, $700 a week, it might be very close to what your net paycheck was anyway. So those are the 4 executive orders that Donald Trump signed today as an accountant. And I'll tell you, I like to make these videos from an accountant's perspective, because there's a lot of other YouTubers that report on this, and I think they do a fantastic job. I've listened to a couple of videos and watched a couple of videos before I did mine, because I wanted to have an idea what the other people were saying about it. I read a couple of articles, and really, I see it from the perspective of the extra work I need to do as an accountant and the extra answers I need to give to my clients coming Monday, because I'm going to get bombarded with emails and phone calls and questions. because all of these things are things accountants deal with, right? Payroll taxes. Well, for the most part, I would say payroll taxes really is the big one. The other ones are mostly not necessarily with the clients issues that I deal with, but the payroll tax one, it's going to be a huge one, and it's going to keep me on my toes. It's going to give us a lot of work. So let's thank the government for keeping us busy for the next couple of months. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you want more this type of content, accounting content. I do some tax stuff. I do some QuickBooks stuff. Only a small percentage of viewers that watch my content subscribe. I want to get to 100,000. So I'm going to give away a Amazon gift card for $100 for the following. You subscribe to the channel and add a comment below. So you have to add a comment below, and you can comment whatever you want. You can agree, you can disagree, you can add some color commentary, no politics, please. And whoever gets the most likes on their comment will get that gift card. So I'll give it a couple of days to review. I'll go back and check the comments that are coming up and the likes that you're getting. So when other people hit like on your comment, that gives you that extra point. And I'm also going to hit like to the ones that give really good comments. Whatever the comments are, it could be a joke. It could be something about the video. It could be some perspective of accounting and tax about this current situation. Just no politics, please. And I'll give that person $100 gift card in a couple of days, maybe 3 or 4 days. I'll check to see who gets a lot of likes, and we'll do that. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hit like, because it helps other people in YouTube see this video. And thank you very much, and I hope you find this useful.